Hello, this is Rudy Guiliani with Rudy's Common Sense. Hunter Biden is under investigation by the United States government. What a surprise. Gosh, the last time I said that, I was accused of being a Russian agent. But now, it turns out to be true. I have the evidence, documents, witnesses, checks, money laundering, you name it, we can prove it. It's a scandal of massive proportions. And I'm going to begin and end with the following warning, because the crooked, big tech, big media, crooked Democratic Party, and all their sycophants are going to try to make Hunter Biden the scapegoat. Hunter Biden is at the bottom of the totem pole. He's just a little guy in this. He's the guy that collects the money. He's the guy that's the bag man. We have a big guy in this. We even call him the big guy, just in case there's any doubt about who this is about and who the crimes are about and who the major beneficiary of the crimes have been for the last 30 years. Don't let them pawn this off on Hunter Biden. His father, his family have done enough to ruin his life. Now they want to ruin it for good so they can enjoy the benefits of the presidency, which for them really means greed. So I'm telling you this because Hunter Biden is a apparatchik. And the Democrat Party, the Biden family, are going to try to put it on Hunter. They're going to say, oh, just a little tax evasion. We'll take a nice little count for tax evasion. And then we'll get away with the $40 or $50 million that over 30 years we stole while we were in public office, which is why we've been able to live like kings and queens on public salary, on your taxpayers' dollars. A lawyer by the name of Bud Cummings went to the Justice Department and delivered to the Justice Department sufficient evidence alleging that Joe Biden was involved in a corrupt scheme in Ukraine with the crookedest man in the Ukraine. There were 5 witnesses willing to come and testify that Joe Biden had paid a bribe to the president of Ukraine, the most crooked man in the Ukraine, Poroshenko, on behalf of the second most crooked man, Zlochevsky. It's a flat-out case of money laundering involving the Biden family. And then a document showing $900,000 personally going to Joe Biden when he was vice president. Looks a lot like a bribe to me. Was doing it because it was brought to me by Ukrainians who said it would help vindicate President Trump of the phony charge of the Russian collusion, because the collusion took place in Ukraine and Hillary paid for it. Hillary was the one colluding with Russia. Hillary was the one colluding with Ukraine. Biden was helping her. And George Soros was helping to cover it up. Those were the allegations. The Justice Department wouldn't do anything with it. My witnesses were afraid to go to the Justice Department. They've been turned away by the Justice Department, turned away by the FBI. So they came to me. They said they trusted me. So I took their testimony. I memorialized it. I had to have it on tape. I turned it over to a reporter so it would be public. I thought we would get the benefit of it being public, and the public would go crazy when it heard about this corruption. But no. The crooked media came down on us. Except it was all true. It was all on tape. It was all in documents. It was all in banks. It was provable. And I offered to try the case myself and prove it in 6 months. I know a little something about racketeering cases, and this was a heck of a racketeering case that got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Then when that failed to get the attention of the FBI and the Justice Department, so they would investigate this long before there was an election, I brought it to the State Department. And I turned it over to the Secretary of State and his Inspector General. And I was promised it would be investigated, and not a single person was interviewed. And then the crazy, insane, false, lying whistleblower who had been involved in trying to frame the president from 4 years earlier, except no one would reveal his identity because everyone knew what a slime he was and what a bias he had and what a liar Schiff is. Every time Joe was a point man, the Biden family got wealthy. Obama names him point man in Iraq. James Biden gets 1/3 of a $1.5 billion housing contract. He knows nothing about housing. Joe gets appointed in Ukraine as point man. Hunter gets anywhere from $10 to $14 million for a no-show job that he knows nothing about. And then they get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. But boy, we're getting close to espionage now. And that is when Joe Biden brings Hunter over to China on Air Force Two, and Joe fails in his negotiations with China, as he uniformly always did. And Hunter got the prize, a $1 billion commitment to his useless, ridiculous, completely non-functioning private equity fund, which grows to $1.5 billion. In other words, the son of the vice president becomes a partner with the government of China against whom his father is negotiating, and nobody covers it. No one in the Obama administration cares. No one in the New York Times cares. No one in the Washington Post cares. No one in Washington cares. Tell me that's not a sellout of the United States. Tell me if that were Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr., it wouldn't have been jumped on immediately and immediately become a national security investigation, as it should. We're negotiating with probably our biggest adversary in the world. We're using the vice president of the United States, and his son got $1.5 billion from China for a private equity fund, including John Kerry's stepson and Whitey Bulger's nephew. What has happened to us? How corrupt have we become? How corrupt have we become in the name of protecting the highest echelons of the Democrat Party? How corrupt have we become in our hatred of Donald Trump so we will suppress any evidence that might help him, even if it's critical to saving the United States? Can you see how sick hatred can become? Well, there are a lot more transactions with China, and they're starting to come out now, but let me take you to the last one, because the last one is the one that's the most relevant, because I do not see how this man can assume the presidency. I don't even see how he could pass a security clearance. I'm talking about Joe Biden. So he gets involved in a deal with the Chinese communists. When I say he, I mean Hunter, James, Sarah Biden, and somebody known as the boss. 20% to H, 20% to RW, 20% to JG, 20% to TB, 10% to Jim, that's Jim Biden. And here's the nice one, 10 held by H for the big guy. So H has got 20% up here. That's Hunter. Then he's got 10% for the big guy. They're getting ready to go and join their offices together, the Biden crime family and the Chinese Communist Party. Isn't that nice? They're going to have an office together. So from Hunter Biden to Cecilia Browning, who's putting the office together, please have keys made available for new office mates. Joe Biden, Jill Biden, Jim Biden, Gong Wan Dung. Don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you are face to face. Why wouldn't they want to mention Joe being involved if it wasn't criminal? You know why. Because it was criminal. And when Bobulinski asks the big guy, the boss of the crime family, how does he get away with it? He says plausible deniability. Otherwise meaning lying. It is quite obvious that Hunter is getting disgusted with the way he's being used. He's writing to his daughter on January 3rd, 2019. I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard. But don't worry, unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary. But don't worry, unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary. Who's the top of the totem pole? Who is the top of the totem pole? Who was this all for? Whose lives were ruined so he could be wealthy, rich, powerful? Didn't help, didn't improve his IQ. He was always stupid. This is a career of crime that disgustingly, corruptly was kept from you during the election. It could be the worst thing I can think of done in American history. I can't imagine how these people who did it can look at an American flag or can look at themselves in the mirror. There's not a question about the fact that Joe Biden took bribes over many, many, many years. That he's a plagiarizer, a liar, a man who took terrible advantage of his son. We're in a terrible situation in this country because of our corrupt big tech, big media, big companies, involvement and infiltration from China. I mean, just how deep does this go? How deep does China go with the Bidens? They're into them for millions. But they have photographs of the Bidens that intelligence services spend their lives trying to acquire so they can jam you up. And they have the Bidens jammed up so far that China owns the Bidens. This has got to come out. This is extraordinarily serious. It may in fact be the worst and most serious scandal in our history. So remember, there's just one thought from today's. Hunter Biden is the bottom of the totem pole. Don't let them fool you and stick it on Hunter Biden. They've been doing that for 30 years. This is all about the boss, the big guy, Joe Biden. He's the number one criminal. He's the boss of the crime family. And this should result, if we have any fairness and justice in this country, in a major racketeering prosecution of the Biden crime family. Doesn't matter who they are or what they are, they're not above the law. Thank you.